Hello, everybody. I'm Griffin, CEO of Hideous Laughter Productions, here to welcome you to the future of the network. As promised, I have many exciting updates to share with you all, but before we get started, I want to give a big thank you to all of you supporting the show. Whether you do that through engaging with our community, leaving us kind feedback on your podcast platform, or you're able to support us financially on Patreon, your participation and feedback goes a long way, and is why I'm able and excited to announce so many awesome things today. So without further delay, let's get started. And what better place to start than with the show this announcement is airing on, Zone of Truth, now on its 100th episode. I want to begin this discussion by giving my co-host and the true showrunner of Zone of Truth, Steve, a huge shout out for the work he puts in on the show. What started as a simple HLP recap show has turned into a multi-segmented and multifaceted production. Over 100 episodes, we've interviewed industry professionals, members of the Paizoverse, reviewed new Paizo releases, deep dove into real-world and in-setting lore on monsters and gods alike, and of course, we've eaten a fish sandwich or two. We've taken the show from a one-on-one recording to a live monthly event and used Zone of Truth as our testing ground for remote recording and studio building. None of that would have been possible without the hard work and creativity of Steve at the helm. The future of Zone of Truth is bright as we head into 2023. We'll continue our bi-weekly release schedule on the Hideous Laughter podcast feed, and Zone of Truth Live will continue as a monthly Patreon benefit at the $10 and up tier. Zone of Truth will expand in scope to cover not just HLP recaps, but also occasionally recap our other shows on free-to-listen feeds. We've successfully used Zone of Truth to fundraise for charitable causes, raising $2,000 for the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation in 2021 and $2,500 for Speak for the Unspoken in 2022. The generosity of our listeners continues to surprise and delight us year after year, so we'd like to expand the fundraisers we do in 2023. Finally, if you're a content creator or work in or adjacent to the TTRPG space and would like to be interviewed on Zone of Truth, please reach out to myself or Steve. We'll do our best to get you on the show. Next, I want to talk a little bit about Bestow Curse. Thanks to the generosity of our patrons, we were able to launch Bestow Curse as a second free feed for Hideous Laughter Productions. This show is not only an opportunity for our group to sink their teeth into Pathfinder 2e, but it's also a chance to play the much-beloved Curse of the Crimson Throne AP. As the GM of this show, it's been an absolute delight getting to flesh out the people and places of the city of Korvosa. My players continue to surprise and impress me with the way they interact with the world we're building together. Currently, the show is deep into Book 2, and things are only going to keep heating up from there, so we hope you listen and enjoy. As Bestow Curse approaches its 2-year anniversary, we continue to be impressed by the amount of new listeners tuning in as their first experience with Hideous Laughter Productions. The switch to 2nd edition has brought in many new listeners to our growing community, and as we look forward, we hope to grow Bestow Curse as much as possible. Our goal for this show is to eventually release episodes weekly like we do for Hideous Laughter. Further into this announcement, I'll let you know how you can help make that a reality. Let's move on to the future of Linked Legacy, shall we? Since the inception of HLP, it's been my big stretch goal to one day grow the network to a point where we could be partnered with Paizo. That's kind of my we've made it goal, although I never really thought we'd get there. 2 years ago, though, through the support of all of you, we were able to make that a reality, and with that partnership, Linked Legacy was born. From the beginning, Linked Legacy was set up as a variety show with different modules, casts, and GMs playing through shorter sessions. We hope to provide a Patreon experience that was less grandiose than our free adventures and more closely approximated the at-the-table feel of our group. So far, I've run Carnival of Tears, followed by Steve, who ran No Response from Deepmar, and then Haley ran Realm of the Fell Knight Queen. Currently, we're in the middle of our first 2e module, Malevolence, run by Chris. I want to give a huge thank you to my fellow GMs for putting themselves out there, oftentimes GMing in front of a mic for the first time. I think all of them have given different but equally fun and engaging takes on being in the GM seat. I've been so pleased to be a player for the first time on the network, too. I mean, that's worth the price of admission alone. In 2023, we'd like to expand our table experience outside the network. In order to do that, I believe Link Legacy needs to move in front of the paywall as a free offering from Hideous Laughter Productions. It wouldn't be fair to only expose guests to members of our Patreon. I think we have to expose them to our entire audience because they deserve to be heard by everyone if they're coming onto our show as a guest. After we finish Malevolence, likely in the first half of next year, Link Legacy will become a bi-weekly stream on the HLP Twitch channel. The first streamed adventure, the remastered 2nd edition Crown of the Kobold King compilation, say that 5 times fast, will be run by yours truly and will feature the return of a certain kobold gunslinger from all the way back in Link Legacy Season 1. If you haven't heard that, I suggest you go listen to it when you get a chance. We'll be bringing guests from across the Paizoverse and beyond to fill out the party for each segment of the adventure. For Crown of the Kobold King, the adventure is actually split into 3 parts, so we're aiming to have new guests for each part of that adventure. After Kobold King, we'll continue in the Link Legacy tradition of rotating GMs and changing systems. So far, we've played many adventures in Pathfinder 1st edition and a couple in 2nd edition, and we're hoping to expand the systems we play even further, maybe to Starfinder, maybe to non-Paizo systems. The future is bright and exciting, and the capacity to be able to do that live is a little scary, but also fun, and I think I'm really looking forward to it. Episodes of Link Legacy will be available after they go live on our YouTube channel, and the audio will be edited and available to $10 and up patrons. So we're not forgetting our audio-only listeners. We never will. You're our bread and butter. And most of our stuff is still going to continue to be audio-only. But for these episodes, we're going to take special care to edit them and make sure that they're a product worth listening to on a podcast feed. I hope we haven't let you down in that capacity so far. And we're not planning to let you down with Link Legacy. I think it's going to be a fun live experience, but an equally good audio experience. With Link Legacy becoming a free show, that opens a slot for something new on our Patreon feed, and our listeners have overwhelmingly given us feedback that they want to hear us play a new adventure. I'm pleased to announce we've got a new show coming up called Speak with Plants that will release after Malevolence finishes at the $5 and up Patreon tier. This will be a 2-week conversion of the Iron Fang Invasion AP, and I'm thrilled to have Haley in the GM seat for this adventure. Her style of GMing is going to guarantee that Speak with Plants is one of the most fun things to listen to on the network. And, you know, because it's going to be so fun, we had to put it behind a paywall. We just had to. The players will be myself, Steve, Chris, and Tim of No Response from Dietmar and Pavlos and Pals fame. And this might be the most chaotic group of players we've had on an adventure. I'm particularly excited to hear what each of the guys brings to the table. You might be thinking, Iron Fang Invasion isn't particularly plant heavy. Why are we calling it Speak with Plants? Well, the other players and I are operating under a constraint when building our characters. All of our characters must be from a plant ancestry. That's right now just Leshy, Goran, and Kanrasu. Our options are somewhat limited, but Haley's doing a good job allowing us to be flexible, and I think it's going to be one of the most fun things we've ever done. This show will be released bi-weekly on Tuesdays, the same time Link Legacy currently releases. Now for the reason most of you are tuning in, let's talk about the Hideous Laughter podcast. Over 4 years ago, I couldn't have imagined being in the position I am, giving announcements about not just one, but a whole network of shows. None of this would exist without the success of our flagship show, HLP. I never really went into recording Carrying Crown thinking about the end. Instead, I always focused on improving the show, making my storytelling better in the moment, and making the story my own. But now, looking back on 225 plus episodes, 5.5 books, and almost half a decade of this show, I feel like I can finally say with confidence that our version of Carrying Crown is definitively ours. The story that we've been sharing with you, although it uses a pre-written AP at its core, is truly our story. Even though I'm not quite ready to give up carrying Crown, I know all good stories come to an end. I know we have to look to what's next, and I know it has to be something I'm equally as passionate about as I am carrying Crown. As a child, my parents played Jimmy Buffett constantly, and I'm reminded of the lyrics that often resonated with me back then. Yes, I am a pirate, 200 years too late. In my social studies classes, I was enamored with the stories of Edward Teach, William Kidd, and Anne Bonny, among others. My family often vacationed in the Caribbean, and I would imagine what those islands were like hundreds of years ago while leafing through my wrinkled, sun-bleached copy of Treasure Island. Even now, shows like One Piece and Our Flag Means Death and bands like Ailstorm capture my attention above all others. I guess what I'm saying is I really like stories about pirates. With Season 2 of Hideous Laughter, I'd like to try my hand at telling a swashbuckling tale on the high seas. Because, like Mr. Buffett, I've always loved the pirate fantasy, even if I was born a few hundred years too late to be a buccaneer. I'll be at the helm as the crew and I head down to the Shackles with the Skull and Shackles adventure path. So let's talk about some details. I'll be returning as GM, and we'll be converting Skull and Shackles to Pathfinder 2nd Edition. I'm thrilled to announce that Haley, Steve, Emily, and Brooks will all be returning as players for this campaign. There's one more adventurer joining the ranks of the mainline HLP crew. We hope he finds his sea legs soon, because Chris will now be a member of the cast, rounding out our party to 5 PCs. I can't wait for this crew to set sail. The character concepts I've been given so far have me dying to start playing. This show will air after Carrying Crown completes and the HLP crew gets a much-needed break, likely in the summer of 2023. Stick around if you're watching this announcement live to get a better look at the Season 2 logo and hear the new HLP theme song. Finally, I'd like to discuss some changes that will be happening to the HLP Patreon. First, in conjunction with our aforementioned goal of making Bestow Curse a weekly show, we're adjusting the existing goals on the Patreon. Instead of starting a Bestow Curse talk show or making Link Legacy weekly, we're fast-tracking our weekly Bestow Curse goal. At $3,000 a month, we'll take Bestow Curse weekly. We're nearly halfway there, so if you enjoy all the content we produce, consider supporting us and helping us make even more content. This is going to be our only goal until we reach it, at which point we'll announce the next goal for the network, but honestly, this is what we're driving towards. We want Bestow Curse to be weekly. We've heard you. Everybody that's listening to Bestow Curse says, I love this show. I wish it was weekly. We're trying, guys, but we need your help. Second, once Link Legacy goes live, the $10 and up tier will have access to a podcast feed containing the edited audio of those streams. Our goal is to have that audio on your feed within the week the live episode airs, so we haven't decided on a day of the week that we'll be streaming, but once we do, you should have your audio-only edited episode within the week that the live episode airs. So we'll do live episode, and then it'll go up on the YouTube, and then within a week, our patrons at the $10 and up tier will get access to that audio feed. Third, the $2 tier will be changed from a drink poll to sponsor an HLP hero point. So moving the main show to 2nd edition means that we need hero points. We're going to be using them. So when you submit your hero point, we'll read them on air and shout you out. This change kind of sparks a bigger change for HLP Season 2 in that we'll no longer feature the crew drinking at the top of every episode. Instead, we're going to rotate one person per week to come up with a mixed drink pertinent to the story and share what they've made on air. We'll then share the recipes on social media and attempt to give a non-alcoholic version of the drink if possible. We realize that many of our listeners don't drink and would prefer less focus on drinking at the start of the show. Because of this, while we still want to keep our identity intact and have a drink at the top of the show, and we're still going to be drinking during the show, we don't want that to be the focus of the banter at the top. So expect to hear new and diverse banter for HLP Season 2 instead of "What are you drinking?" I think it's a good change, and I'm excited for it. I'm also excited for what my co-cast members will bring to the table in these mixed drinks. Hopefully it's something that our listeners can also enjoy. With the changes to the drink pool, there will no longer be a drinking game tied to the episodes in HLP Season 2. The good news here is this opens up our monthly Discord episode Listen Along, Drunken Discorderly, to any episode on our network, not just HLP. We'll send out polls for what show and episode our $10 and up patrons want to listen to ahead of time. But this opens up Bestow Curse and Speak with Plants when it airs, and Link Legacy, as well as old Hideous Laughter episodes and the new season of Hideous Laughter. So a lot more options for Drunken Discorderly, which is exciting. Although this is still our opportunity to drink along with patrons, we're going to be doing it Saturday nights still. We'll also be doing informal Q&A about the episode in lieu of a drinking game. So feel free to vote for episodes where you want to know what's happening behind the scenes. We'll think back to that episode and give you guys the inside scoop if you ask for it. Otherwise, it's going to be much the same. We're going to be hanging around, drinking. You don't have to drink if you don't want to, but it's our chance to kick back and hang out with the patrons. Finally, go check out our merch store. We've gone live with a bunch of new gear sporting all of the new logos. So Speak with Plants logo, the new Season 2 Hideous Laughter logo, that's all out there. Give it a look. With all that information through, I'll turn it back to myself and Steve live to answer any questions you have about these updates that I just talked about. Thanks so much for listening.